Hi, I'm Peggy Farron, and you're watching the Understand Photography Show, where we talk about travel, nature, and fine art photography. Welcome to episode 128. We're going to talk about creating an artist website with art consultant Carolyn Edlund. But first, remember to sign up for the freebies. We have all this cool free stuff on our website, understandphotography.com. So if you go to understandphotography.com, on the front page it says click here for freebies. So we've got some downloads and some videos, different things that you might be interested. One is, what kind of camera do I buy? Another one, and it depends on what you want to do. Are you a travel photographer? Are you getting into professional photography? What you need? What kind of camera do you need? Anyway, the next thing is, what do I need to learn? Right now, everybody is trying to, get little bits and pieces of information off of YouTube and all these other things. It's not a good way to learn photography. You need a plan. So we actually have a plan of action that you can download so that you know what you're supposed to be learning, and you'll cut your learning time in half, man. So anyway, we've got other ones on there. We've got 4 or 5 freebies, so understandphotography.com. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and we're a podcast. What helps us more than anything, commenting, liking helps a lot, but if you write us a review on iTunes, boy, do we really appreciate it. That helps us more than anything. So please write us a review and make it a good one, hopefully. Anyway, Carolyn Edlund actually was on our show before. She was on episode number 10. She is an amazing art consultant. In fact, Heather was getting annoyed because she's like, are you going to get on with the show? Because I'm sitting here trying to get all this free advice from Carolyn. Carolyn is the founder of Artsy Shark, and Artsy Shark is an agency that offers resources, it offers classes, all kinds of services for artists who want to be professional artists who want to sell their work. Welcome.
Thank you, Peggy. It's so good to be here with you again. And it was a long time ago that we did that first interview, but
110 episodes ago or
busy
something.
Ever since then. So it's good to be back with you again.
Well, I appreciate it. All right, so we're going to go right into it. So why is it important for an artist to have a website?
Why is it important to have a website? Well, I think you could probably actually ask that question of just about anybody in business. Why is it important for your business to have a website? Because otherwise you're invisible. As far as artists and photographers having websites themselves, I have a couple of thoughts about that because there are different ways that an artist could have an online presence.
Okay.
First of all, you certainly could be on an existing website like Etsy, or you could be on Fine Art America, or you could be on Saatchi Gallery. And these are third-party websites where you could have a page or a shop or a store, or you could just be selling your art through that website. And that's not a bad idea. Some people start that way. Some people will just start out with an Etsy shop, and that's where they kind of, test the waters.
And Etsy helps advertise for you, or no?
No, not specifically for you. In fact, no matter where your website is, those platforms are not going to advertise specifically for you.
Okay.
So what's the good thing about being on one of those websites?
Yeah.
They already have a lot of traffic. They do a lot of advertising for themselves. So for example, Etsy has a very high site ranking. A lot of people shop there. They trust the website.
Okay.
And they're willing to spend money there because they know they're not going to get ripped off by Etsy. So there's a trust factor, and there's that, we're known. So it's not the end of the world to just be on an Etsy shop or something. Okay. Personally, I like to see artists have their own website.
Okay.
And here's why. If you're on Etsy and people come across your page, and if you've drawn traffic, maybe you're posting something on social media or you're asking people to go there, they're looking at your site, but they can just click up here or click up there on the same page, and they're off onto someone else's shop.
Right.
Because there's a lot of other artists on the platform, and Etsy just wants to make sales. So number one, it's not like you're exclusive, like you're going to keep them on your site.
Okay.
And the other thing is, Etsy could decide that you've broken the rules, and suddenly they're going to kick you off because they own the website.
Yeah.
Which means you're gone, and you're like, I've spent years advertising Etsy, now I'm gone. So you have no control.
I'm like such a good girl, and I never break any rules, and I got kicked off of Facebook advertising. I didn't do anything wrong that I can see. It was the same ad I used for 3 years, and they just decided it was no good. They completely said no more advertising.
You know, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's a really good point too. Other people don't have a website. They say, well, I have a Facebook page,
Okay.
or an Instagram page, and that's all they have as an artist. But you could be kicked off. Or they could decide,
Yeah.
we've changed our algorithm now. Nobody will be able to find you unless you pay for every single post.
Which is what Facebook does.
Which Facebook does,
Except
and
for
other
me, I can't
platforms
pay.
do. You're just gone, right? You're just out of luck. So I mean, I don't think it's wrong to have a Facebook page, but here's the general rule: never build your house on someone else's property.
Ooh, yes.
Right? So if you think you're going to create your permanent site on Etsy or YouGallery or Facebook or Pinterest,
Or
forget it.
500 pics is a
Or
lot of
500
people
pixels.
say,
Yeah,
oh, you can
exactly.
just look at my portfolio on 500 pics.
Because if they kick you off, or if they go under, what if they decide that, you know, somebody else bought them out?
Or the next best thing, because 500 pics has only been around for a few years. Before it was Flickr, and Flickr's sort of not doing as well now that 500 pics has taken over. And so what are you going to do? You're going to
Right.
have to redo
Or what
it?
if you're on a site like Facebook and people don't trust it anymore?
Yeah.
And they don't want to go there. They're closing out their accounts. So if you have your own website, if you use WordPress or Shopify or Cravado or Artspan or any type of a platform, build your own site where you have your own URL. You own it 100%. No one can kick you off. No one can, you know, make you obsolete. And the other really important thing that you have if you've got your own site is that you can collect people's email address when they visit. And I know you do that because you have a very big list of fans and people who come to understand photography, and they love to hear from you, right? So you're emailing them. I know that because I get your emails too. And I always get a kick out of them.
I always send one a month.
That's okay.
I don't, not too many.
No, I don't hear from you too often. And they're always exciting, and you've always got some fabulous trip coming up that I wish I was a photographer, that I would go on with you.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just go on one of them and just like go to the restaurant while you're out in the field.
Yeah.
You're in the beach, you're the photographers, and I'll just be at the seafood restaurant. But yeah, so you have the opportunity to collect the names of people who visit. If you're on Etsy, you don't get to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not sure, don't quote me, but I don't even think Etsy will allow you to do mailings to people who've bought from you on that platform. There's rules against this, so that you can't
get the customer as your own customer.
You cannot be driving repeat business from existing customers. They want the list because those lists are very powerful.
Yeah, they are.
So you want to have your own website. And I think another really important reason to have your own website is credibility. So I've heard all about Peggy. I've heard about Understand Photography. I'm really impressed that she's a total professional. And then she just has a Facebook page, and she like never even made her own website.
Yeah.
You know, I could meet you at a cocktail party, and 15 minutes later, you know, I'm looking you up, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you're not here.
Yeah.
Or what if I looked you up and I see LinkedIn, Facebook, you know, what if I see all of these other platforms, and then your website is way down there, or I don't even see it in the list?
Yeah.
Keep in mind that you are never going, even with your own website, you're never going to have the site ranking of these really big websites, right? Because they're so well,
Right.
you know, traveled. So, in a perfect world, I would Google you, and right away I'm going to be getting. It's your. Is it avant-garde photography?
You're going to get,
or understand photography?
You're going to get either, depends on what you Google. If you Google my name, you're mostly going to get avant-garde because I've been in business since 2001.
Right.
And so I come up very, very high in the search engine.
And you want that to be first, because you want people to come to your website before they go to LinkedIn and look you up or whatever, and then they're off doing something else. So I think it's very important for credibility. If people know that not only do you have your own website, but you have a really good site. Like, it looks gorgeous. It's easy to, you know, navigate. It works well on mobile. It's up to date. It doesn't look like something from 2009, like you forgot about it or whatever. It's really important. I think that gives you credibility, And when you have credibility, people trust you.
Yeah.
And when they trust you, they'll do business with you.
I agree. I think, and it's so cheap to get a website nowadays. There's no excuse. No excuse. So if I'm building my website, what's interesting to me is I am building, me being Heather, is building a new website. I'm directing. Anyway.
Okay. That's a good role to have.
Anyway, Heather did a bunch of research on different. We decided we wanted something super easy where I could just slap some pictures up there and whatever. It's going to be my artist website. So what categories should I put on my website besides, obviously I'm going to put my portfolio, my pictures up there. What else should I have up there?
Oh, that's a great question. So what you're talking about is the menu.
Yes, the menu. Thank
The
you.
navigation menu. Well, you're going to have a home page because that will come with every site.
And what should be on the home page?
I would like to see your art right smack up at the top of the home page.
So one of your favorite, best
A very
images?
compelling image, or even more than one. And I heard this from a friend of mine who's this big marketing guru who works for one of the major sites I really respect him because he just is such a smart guy, and he's kind of stays up with, like what's the newest trend in marketing and what's the biggest, newest advice. And he said to me, if you have a homepage on your website, you want to be showing as many images as you can above the fold. And when we say above the fold, that's what you see immediately before you scroll down.
Okay.
Think of it like a newspaper. If the newspaper was folded, what would you see on the very front?
Yeah.
Below the fold means scrolling down.
And you should test that both on your mobile site and, because you see different things on your mobile site
Yeah.
than you see.
Mobile and on a laptop or on your other
Right.
devices, your
My
computer.
website looks very different on mobile than it does
Yeah,
on
yeah.
a desktop.
And
My good picture with all that good hair and makeup is not on my mobile site.
Oh my gosh!
I
You better
know.
slap that right. You better put that up on there. But he said that you should have as many images as you reasonably can fit
Okay.
in that initial view. Why? Because somebody might look at the one image that you have of the beautiful surf here in Naples, Florida, but they don't care about that. They want to see something else. But if, let's say, you have 4 images, 4 of your photographs on the front, of those 4, there might be one that really grabs them.
Okay.
And they've seen it immediately, they want to click it and go right into looking at the Grand Canyon or whatever
Right.
that's going to be.
Okay.
So you have multiplied the effort, your efforts in trying to grab attention and get somebody to stay on your site. You've got like 3 seconds for them, to initially visit your site and decide whether to stay or go.
Okay, but you have to be careful with that, right? Because big makes more impact. So if you have too many small pictures, then
Right.
you have no impact.
Well, I think you could look at it either way.
Okay.
What he was saying is, however many images you could reasonably put there that would be clickable. It might be in a slider, or it might not be.
Yeah.
But he was talking about doing commerce because he really specialized in people selling their work. So if you had 4 pieces for sale, and they don't have to be photographs, they could be paintings or
Right,
sculpture.
right, yeah.
If you showed a selection of your work, that they could see immediately that was technically better.
Okay.
Now, do you have a slider on your site?
I was just going to say what I did was put a slider on my site.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean,
But now this is for Understand Photography, though,
Mm-hmm.
because I just finished that site in August, I guess. So it's a fairly new site to me. And I wanted all the different things we have coming up. But there's so many of them, and they change all the time. So that's what we have, a slider. So there are about 3 or 4 pictures on the front page above the fold when you click on my site from that slider.
I don't think that's a bad idea. And you can make your slider clickable. So if somebody was interested in a certain trip and they saw it on your slider and they said, "Oh, I really want to go to the Everglades with Peggy,"
Yeah.
they could literally click on the slider and it would take them to that landing page about that event.
Yep, that's exactly how mine works.
Right.
Exactly. But I
So-
paid a lot of money for that site. That's part of the reason we're doing this other.
Yeah.
And we're doing something a little simpler and less money for the artist website.
Right. So if we get back to the initial question of, well, what are the other pages? So you've got your home page.
Okay.
Then you want to have your portfolio.
Okay.
And we can talk a little more deeply about, well, how do you organize your portfolio?
Okay. Okay.
But there are some other pages that are essential. I really like to see an about page, and that's very common. People, will put that usually about us or about the artist, because people want to know who you are. And that's where that gorgeous photo of you looking phenomenal, right, will go right on that about page. I think it's very important to have a picture of yourself.
Okay.
Because people feel that they know you then.
Yeah, yeah.
People have often said to me, oh, I know you. They've never met me. They saw my picture on my website, But it makes you real to them. It makes you seem like a real person. And that it's not some fake, site from China or something where they're pretending to be real. And you're going to have a picture of yourself, and you're going to have some content. But I would keep your written content in short bites. Okay. In other words, I don't want something that looks like a newspaper column that somebody's going to have to read hundreds of words. They will lose interest immediately.
Yeah,
so
people don't like to
very
read.
short paragraphs with lots of what I call visual relief.
Okay.
Space.
Okay.
Maybe even some bullets. Maybe even
So
just
what would the content be?
My name is Peggy Farron. I live in Naples, Florida. I'm an expert in photography, and I work with people to learn how to use their cameras more effectively, and often sponsor trips, in the Everglades and so forth. And make that a short paragraph.
Okay.
And then drop down a little bit more. I also do event photography. Learn more about that here. Link right to your events page.
Okay.
And see my portfolio online of prints that are available here. Link, and that will be another page on your site.
Okay, good.
You want to have links from every page to other pages. Those are
Okay.
called deep links, and those keep people on your site.
Okay.
You never want to say something like, gee, I contribute, some of the income that I make to the SPCA, and then put a link to the SPCA and send them off to that site.
Okay.
They have enough links. I mean, the SPCA is a good organization.
Right.
But they don't need your link leading people off your site.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you ever did lead off your site, you'd want to open that in a new browser window.
Okay.
You
that's
never want
really
them to
good
go
advice.
away from your site to another site, because they'll never come back.
Right.
Right.
So if you do donate and you want to put a link in there, maybe you should have your own page on that. You can donate to the what'd you call it?
SPCA.
SPCA through my site or something.
Good idea.
Keep them on your site.
Or buy something from me, and then I'll,
Or I'll donate. Yeah,
I'll
that's even
donate
better.
for you.
That's even better.
So you want that about page.
Okay.
I actually really love to see art in situ, or in the environment where it should be seen. I think this is so important. And you might have that on your shopping pages. So we might see a beautiful photograph that you've done, and there might be several views of it.
Oh, I
Maybe a photo of it, and then a close-up of some of the details, and then there might be an at-scale picture in a living room.
Okay.
Or an office, or
And
wherever you feel that it belongs.
They have software for that, right?
They do. I think Art Room's app is one of them.
Okay. And so you can just get their app or whatever, and then you can say, I want that living room with this picture in it.
Yeah, but it's
at this
important
size.
to have it at scale, right? So if you have a 16 by 20, you want it shown
on a tiny little wall.
Well, you want it to be the correct size on the wall.
Yeah.
So that people can envision it.
But the software does that, right?
It should, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, it should do that. So I love to see that as well.
And that helps the people visualize it being in their house?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. There are even tools out there where you can take a photo of your wall and put that piece of art on your wall. But some of these platforms, like artstorefronts.com, that's a platform that artists and photographers can use. And one of the tools that they have is the wall preview tool that you can show your work at scale, and you can put it on a bedroom wall or a kitchen wall or a business setting, which is kind of cool.
Is that expensive? Because
it is a little more costly to use that platform.
I had software like that I was using when I was doing the more portrait sales.
Yeah.
And they kept asking me to upgrade, and they wanted, I forget, $300 or $400 a year to upgrade, and I kept not upgrading. And then my computer crashed. It's like,
oh no!
That was the end of that song. I think it's $700 or $800.
But I would like to. There's some other pages that might be on an artist's website. I want to kind of go through that navigation menu because I know you were saying, how many should we have? Absolutely, you need a contact page.
Okay.
We want them to get in touch with you. I would like to see your email address and your phone number and your header.
How do you feel about those forms to fill out?
I'm okay with forms, and I have a form on my own website, but again, I'd like to see your email address. Some people they feel like I'm filling out this form and I'm clicking submit and it's going off who knows where. Is this person really going to get it?
And sometimes they don't get it.
And sometimes they don't get it. Or, why not put your phone number on there? If they were ready to buy something from you, would you take a phone call from them?
I have my phone number on every page of my website.
I'm sure you do, because I call you up. So yeah, you want to be accessible. I've seen some really interesting other pages, which I think are valuable.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll see an artist have a press page. What's all the press exposure that they've gotten? They've been covered by this magazine, they've been on that blog, they've been on the Understand Photography show.
Yeah,
they've been on whatever.
So it makes them seem more,
Makes
them more credibility.
More credible, they get more authority, they seem real, and press can lead to more press.
Yes.
So if a reporter is thinking about working with you and they see that you've been covered by a lot of important publications, number one, they know that you'll follow through and you're a good interview and that you're somebody that they want to publish. And secondly, they know you're newsworthy.
Yeah.
So you want to share your publicity out there.
Now, what if you don't keep it up?
Well,
because I have a page like that, and I'm thinking, I have been interviewed, and I have not been putting anything recent on that. Does it look bad for me that the last time I was interviewed was 2 years ago?
I'd like to see it kept up. Who's going to know? But if you have a webmaster, that person could do that for you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to just either, knuckle down and do it yourself or get somebody else to do it for you. I've also seen an artist had a really interesting page that was, why should you own my art?
Ooh.
Which I loved.
Yeah.
It's like all features and benefits and selling points and why her work is, an excellent acquisition, that it's going to increase in value, and that it'll be a focal point in your home, and that you'll have pride of ownership, and you can buy originals, and that, she's the artist, and the story of that painting is with her so far, but once you own it, that's the next chapter in the story of that painting, and where will you hang it, or if you have a grouping, how will you arrange them, and what will the rest of the story of that piece of art be about.
That's a great idea.
She had like 12 different, reasons to buy from her. Why not? Don't we want people to start, understanding why our art is a great purchase?
That's a great one.
So that was kind of a cool one. And another thing is some people might have a blog on their website.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Now, what I've heard is if you're not going to keep it up, don't have a blog at all.
I agree with you.
Okay.
If your last blog entry was November 2013, you're in trouble because you look like you're out of business. And that is like the surest way with a date on there to make you look completely obsolete. And I know that it's a big deal to keep up a blog because I do. And it's like,
and you do it very
takes over my
well.
life. Well, I have an assistant who helps me publish stuff, and thank goodness.
That's a lot of work.
But I have a suggestion for people who kind of want to blog. They want to keep things kind of up to date. They want to keep current, but they really don't want to do all of this writing. I would suggest that you pull your Instagram feed into your website so that you're showing your feed on your website and that you use Instagram as kind of a micro blog.
I've seen people do that. I wondered how they did that.
It's super cool.
It's some kind of plugin.
It's a plugin.
Like WordPress or something?
If you're on WordPress, I use WordPress, so I knew more about that than other platforms. But you could use a plugin that pulls your Instagram feed in. I know an artist who has it right at the bottom of her homepage, so you can scroll down, 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 look kind of through her slider, look at her collections, click anywhere to go, to her About page or other pages, and then you scroll down, and near the bottom of that page is her entire Instagram feed with work in progress,
Oh.
Her writing about what's new.
Okay.
And that way you can kind of write whenever you want to, but nobody who's on Instagram is going to expect you to be writing 500 words, or 1,000 words, which we might expect from a blog.
Okay,
blog
that's
post.
great.
So you could write maybe 100 words, talk about some exciting things, put it right on Instagram, pull people from there to your site,
But now
then keep them updated while you're on it.
So the Instagram is actually on your site, though, so it's not going to take them off your site.
No, it's embedded in your page. Yeah, it's right on your
brilliant.
site.
Oh, I'm going to do that.
I mean, you could click it and
Well, I
go
can.
to Instagram and follow your page there. It's kind of
Wow,
cool.
That is cool. That's a great idea. And that would save you so much time if you're keeping up with Instagram.
Well, that's the question is, am I keeping up with anything? And so if you can't keep up with anything, then you've got to get some help. The one thing that I hate to hear, and a lot of artists have this for like older versions of sites, I can't do anything on my website unless my webmaster goes in there and puts this photo on there.
yeah, no, you
and I
gotta
feel like
have
saying, no,
something.
no. You have to be able to handle it yourself. And some of these people are charging a fortune, thousands of dollars to maintain a site that never changes.
Yeah.
That they'll update it for you whenever you want, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's just it's kind of a
If
ripoff.
you're going to be in business, you have to. And the reason that my motto at Understand Photography is we simplify the technical is because technical things come very hard for me. I am not technical, but you have to keep your technical skills up if you want to be in business. You know, you don't have to be a
do.
super techie, but if you're going to have a website, you need to know how to upload blog posts and things like that. You need to know how to do it.
Well, a lot of these platforms make it super easy. So if you don't want to use WordPress and you just want to go on Shopify, for example, which is already it's an e-commerce platform. So if you want to sell whatever you're selling, you have a shopping cart right there. It's super easy.
And you can build a website around Shopify?
Shopify they will host your entire website.
Okay, but it's not.
And you can customize it so it can look however you want. And that's not the only, I mean, Wix is a platform to do that. I think Big Cartel has a platform. Those are general shopping sites. And then there are others that are specifically FASO, which is Fine Art Studio Online, or FASO.com, ArtSpan. Those are made for artists. And they have certain features built into them, like a feature that will enlarge an image for you to look more closely at it.
Okay.
So those are geared towards artists, and I think those are real website platforms where you can have your own URL, your own domain name. It's not like building your site on someone else's platform.
Okay.
It's just a tool that makes it super easy for an artist to get started.
Okay.
So if you knew what you were doing, you could build a site in an hour.
Wow, that's awesome.
Unless you have a lot to put on it.
Yeah, well, the hardest part is coming up with the content, in my opinion.
You have to write your content. And there's just a lot to know about websites. But
So how do you? Okay, so all right, so I've got my home page, my
your about
portfolio,
page, your portfolio page, maybe a press page, a contact page. If you're going to be out at a bunch of fairs and festivals, what are your upcoming shows? You might put an events page.
Okay.
That's certainly something that's
All right, now in my
reasonable.
portfolio, is that where my shopping cart is going to be?
Correct.
And how do I do a shopping cart?
Well, if you have a platform that already has a shopping cart
That's the easiest
in
way.
it, that would be the easy way. If you're using WordPress, you use a plugin, like WooCommerce is one.
That's what I have.
And that gives you a shopping cart. And then you just follow the instructions to apply the shopping cart, I guess, to product pages.
And do they do the credit card processing?
I actually don't use WooCommerce. I use a separate shopping cart.
I use, for Understand Photography, I use Events Calendar with WooCommerce, and it's all PayPal.
Yeah, I use PayPal also. And then I also have e-courses, but they're hosted on Thinkific, which is a course site. These days, you can get anything hosted wherever you want on all these specialized sites that cater to particular types of businesses, which is great.
Right.
And so I think through that shopping cart, they're actually using Stripe but it's completely built in.
But they're doing it, so you don't have to worry
I have an
about it.
account with Stripe, but yeah, they're automatically running it through. And or you could choose PayPal, however you want to pay.
Okay.
It's a lot of options.
It's a lot easier than it was. A shopping
Oh my
cart
gosh.
used to be so difficult.
Back in the day, I was begging people, how do I work? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, how can it be this hard? How can people do business online? But these days, you don't really need to freak out or be
easier.
overly worried, because if you go to one of these big sites that hosts, the shopping cart, and you just, read the directions. Like Shopify, again, I don't even use Shopify, but the reason I keep talking about them is, number one, they really do have a good site, a good platform.
Yeah.
They interface with everything. They interface with MailChimp. They interface with all kinds of, different other platforms, so you can use tools really easily.
Okay.
And they also have like the best marketing blog ever. I don't subscribe to many things because I get too much email, but I subscribe to Shopify.
Oh, interesting.
Really good ideas
Okay.
for selling. So I recommend them.
Okay, that's good to know.
Other than the Understand Photography blog.
Yeah.
Get on that list too. And get on the Artsy Shark blog.
Your
Get on that list.
You are really good at blogging. You are really amazing. All right, so how am I going to sell? I got this shopping cart. I've got my portfolio. My website's looking so pretty. Well, okay, wait, I have another question before that. One of the things that I look at other artists' websites, photographers, and you click on, one thing I don't like is when they sell cheesy things. I don't, and that maybe is just because I'm a snob.
Probably.
But, when they sell, like, here's a pillow, here's a, you can put my art. But the other thing is sometimes they'll have, like, 7,000 choices of sizes.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake.
Like, here's a wallet size, here's a 4x6, here's a 5x7, here's a 8x10. Oh my gosh.
I've seen that where people, like, they have an enormous number of choices that they could print a photo in.
Yeah, because they got the print sizes, and then they got the pillows,
and there's a chart
and
of
all
a
this
million
other
sizes.
stuff, and
but even just in sizes, they'll have 4x4, 4x5, 5x6, 5x7. Does anyone need that many choices? No.
No.
I liken it. You know what it reminds me of? If you had a splitting migraine headache, and you go to the pharmacy and you go to the pain reliever aisle and you have 300 choices and you've got a migraine now, you want like 3 choices, right?
Right.
This, or this, like regular, extra strength, or industrial strength migraine. I'll take that one.
Yes, me too.
Right? So that's what I bought some of that just the other day. It's like extra strength, that's what I want. So you want to remove too many choices.
Okay.
Otherwise, they get what's called analysis paralysis.
Oh.
Like they're going, I have 5,400 choices. I don't even know where to begin, so I'll just leave.
Yeah.
I'll just go somewhere else.
So how many choices should they have, and how do you decide?
Well, I think that you as the photographer, number one, we are going to know, for example, that if you're selling prints and they could be framed, that you want to stick with standard sizes.
Okay.
So that would be an 8x10, 11x14, 16x20, 18x24, 24x36. And there are a couple of other frame sizes in there, they're making these days.
Right.
That are standard.
Okay.
Because you want to sell them something that they can easily frame with a pre-made frame from Michael's or Hobby Lobby or wherever they shop, instead of having it custom framed, because the average cost for custom framing is $250.
Oh, I was going to say,
And that's
I thought
a
it would
reason
be
not
higher
to
than
sell.
that.
Probably is these days, but it used to be like $250.
Okay.
It depends on the size, and then they have to cut a mat or whatever. So the other thing is, I would put a big enough jump in, even if you're selling giclée on canvas that's gallery wrap and doesn't need a frame.
Okay.
Okay, so take the framing out of the equation. Do they really need this big, this big, this big, this? No. Small, medium, and large, Like, make
So you
a
think
choice
3
yourself.
or 4 choices is all they should-
Maybe. Think about it. If you have children, would you say to your child, what do you want to wear? No, you say, do you want the red shoes or the blue shoes?
Yeah.
Pick one. And that's what we want to do, because we want to actually not only create a finite number of manageable choices, but I'd also suggest that you maybe even make some selections for them. So you might say, this print with a black mat in a gold frame, and I'm selling it like that, and then mark up the frame, mark up the mat, and increase the price. And so I offer it with a gold frame and a black mat, or I offer it with a silver frame. Okay. Maybe just make those choices. And if you want it framed, you're going to get one or the other, not 54,000 choices.
Now, Clyde Butcher just sells the same frame for every single thing he has
you know,
the exact same framing on everything.
I don't think that's a bad
branding.
idea. I think it is a great part of branding. I saw another photographer at an outdoor show in Florida, and everything that he photographs is kind of beachy, kind of tropical. He has two frames. Turquoise, that's kind of distressed looking, or whitewash, that's distressed looking. That's it.
Okay.
That's his look. Same type of a thing.
Now, do you suggest that photographers sell the framing too?
If you want.
Okay.
I mean, think about it this way. Are you really just going to roll something and put it in a tube and send it to somebody? Well, you could. But what if they want something that's ready to hang?
Yeah.
Because ready to hang is super important. It's called turnkey. That's like if somebody goes, if you ever watch HGTV, all the people who are looking for new houses, I don't want to do any renovation. I want it to be turnkey. I want to walk in there and just move it. Well, that's what people want when they buy a product.
They just want
to take it out of the box, and they want to put it on the wall.
Okay.
So anything that you can do as an artist to make things, ready to hang, ready to frame, ready to install, already done for them in as much as you can do, I think is helpful.
I agree, because I think one of the, besides the fact that they're selling too small, I mean, should you ever be selling a 4x6?
I don't know. It sounds like
the
size
maybe,
of that's the size of a note card. Rather than 4x6, a 5x7 card is a standard size greeting card.
That would be a better thing
and
to sell.
It fits directly into a pre-cut 8x10 mat.
Okay.
So, and I know this as a former salesperson for an art publishing company years ago. I used to work for a company that is no longer in business, but they sold art, and they also sold greeting cards, and they sold some blank cards. And they would sell matted art too. And if the mat accidentally came apart, you would realize that they literally stuck a greeting card in there because it was still folded over. So think about it this way. You could absolutely sell cards. That's just a different format. That's another way to sell your photography. I think it's a great idea if you want to do it. So you could sell singles, maybe for a couple dollars a piece. You could sell them in a box with envelopes, $15 for 6 or whatever. Or you could take those exact same images, and if you matted them, now suddenly they're worth $20 a piece because they have a mat. And how much is a mat? $1?
Yeah.
The perceived value is higher.
Right.
Because now they're seeing something that can be framed, and they're looking at it as wall art or wall decor rather than a greeting card.
Well, that's what we do at an art show. We would never have just loose pictures. We would have them in mats if they're smaller prints,
And should you frame them? Well, I think one of the problems with framing, and what I always hated about taking orders for framed art, is breakage, glass breakage, and corner damage. Ugh. How many times have you seen a corner just break?
Yeah.
Unless you package it correctly. So if you're going to ship them, I don't know.
And gallery wraps is one solution if you sell the gallery wraps, but that's just one solution if you do want to sell
Or
frames.
you could sell it, you could ship it matted, ship it flat.
Ship it a mat. Or you could just sell canvases. Even if you frame your canvases, they're a lot sturdier. You don't need to put them under glass.
That's true. I mean, they could take that canvas and either hang it or get it framed.
Well, you can sell canvases that are on a board so that they don't even...
Yeah.
You have to put them in a frame, but they're so sturdy compared to...
So just on a different substrate.
A traditional photography print,
Right,
so
right.
That's another... I'm just thinking out loud while we're talking here.
We're talking about don't have too many choices, but then we're talking about all these choices.
So we have to narrow this down.
Well,
when you're putting your website together, you need to narrow it down, decide what you want to sell, and you as the artist should know what size this looks good at. If you have something that looks good as a square, you should only sell it as a square.
Right. And I think that if you want to offer choices, but you're not sure what to offer, Well, you can always add more. So maybe you feel that your photography would look really good, say, on aluminum, because it's got that glow to it, and it's a really interesting substrate, plus it's really lightweight.
Right.
And you can ship them ready to hang, and they're pretty sturdy, and they're just going to go right out in the mail.
Okay.
So aluminum's really popular these days, and of course you don't frame it. So,
and you know what you just made me think of, because you know I'm a judge for the Naples Art Association, and there was actually the lady, I think she's going to start teaching here, but anyway, I recognized her work. It's a little hard for me to judge when I see the photography because I always know them. I always know who they are. But anyway, she had you have to have 4 pieces. So she had 2 on canvas gallery wrap and 2 on the aluminum. And she just made the right, like the ones she had on canvas were like more rugged kind of, I don't know. She made the right choices. And the ones that were on the aluminum were like shiny and bright, and so maybe you make the choices and tell the customer what they need.
I think you should. You know, I used to be in sales, so no surprise there, right? And I always say, tell people what to buy, and they will thank you for it.
Yeah,
Because
if that piece looks
selling.
best in a
You know better
canvas,
than anyone else, and you can recommend that. People aren't sure what to buy. A lot of them feel like they're clueless.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, what is the color mat that should go with this? What kind of frame? I have no idea.
Yeah, good point.
And as the artist, you should say, I recommend this mat, I recommend this frame, or this would look fantastic on aluminum, and I'm going to suggest that you buy that. And they're going to appreciate you telling them the truth, because you want them to be happy. You know what looks best.
I know.
You know?
What do you think of this idea? Is having like 3 or 4 choices, and then at the bottom of each little place, if you can, on the website, say, ask us about custom sizes and finishes.
Sure.
That would simplify it, right?
Well, I think
that way if somebody says,
I don't know that people would actually send you an email and say, can you make me a 4x6 on aluminum?
but if it's somebody, who, of course, as an artist, you want to be cultivating your relationships.
You would like to have that phone call, or you'd like to get anything that you'd like customized. Please email us and ask. Then you can get on the phone with them.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
think it should be very clear
those...
as to what you're selling. Like you can buy this, this, or this. These are the 4 sizes. Too many choices is really bad. We just talked about that. Another thing that photographers do all the time, because of the nature of the fact that when you're out there photographing, you take so many pictures, is your portfolio itself can be overwhelming.
Oh.
I talked to this guy on the phone, and he goes, I want you to look at my portfolio, and I have 425 photographs in it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to look at your mother isn't going to even look at 425. I mean, she'll get 100 in and go, okay, honey, got to make dinner now. They look great. I'm sure the rest are fine. It's too much. It's like overkill. And I don't know whether you see this with the photographers that you work with, but they have 3 very similar photographs, and they love them all. So they want to offer them all. And you're like, pick one.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. So how many pictures should you have in your portfolio, and how many collections should you have in your portfolio?
Yeah, well,
Wait, how many collections and then how many pictures in each collection?
I don't know that there is an answer like, 27. There's not an answer like that. But I think I think that your portfolio should be current. Is this something that you are currently doing? Or is there a picture of, is there a whole collection of pictures you took in Latvia 12 years ago that are still sitting there, and you're not going back there, and you're not, photographing Europe and everything else? Maybe you want to archive them somehow. I like to see a portfolio of things what are you doing now and the direction that you're going.
Okay.
And if you have bestsellers, I mean, let's say you had that incredible Everglades collection that everybody thought was fabulous, and they're bestsellers, well, keep them, or maybe even build that out if that's a real niche for you.
You could even have a collection or a heading called bestsellers or favorites or something like that.
You could. It's interesting. You can sort them and label them any way you want. I mean, you could even have them by mood. I know a photographer
that's
who
cool.
had, his collections were called Calm or Passion or,
that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Morning or something. And so everything would have a mood
I like
to
that.
it. Yeah, it's very interesting how he did that.
Now, one of the things that I am guilty of, and most photographers are, because you just touched on it, we have too many pictures, but the other thing is we don't have a look. Because we like, oh, today I'm going to do macro photography of this little bug, and tomorrow I'm going to do a fisheye shot of the Everglades, and the next day I'm going to do some bird photography, and then I'm going to get my infrared camera out.
I know. Yeah, you're right.
And that, I'm guilty too. I have such a hard time.
I get that, and I would never tell somebody, well, stop doing all of that. Only focus on one area. First of all, you should do whatever you want, and enjoy, taking those photos.
Yes.
But should you offer all of them for sale under your brand? Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe you're going to choose, what are you about? I heard a quote from a curator one time who said, if you offer some of everything, then you will be remembered for nothing. And I think that's so true.
Boy, that is a good, did you write that one down,
I mean,
Heather?
when you think of Clyde Butcher, or when you think of Ansel Adams, or you think of famous photographers, you can picture in your mind what they're about.
Yes.
So you need to know, what is your concept? Why should people care? What is different and special about what you do? And you've got to make your mark someplace. And maybe it's a particular style, more so than subject matter.
Okay.
But you can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so one of the things that I learned from you many, many years ago was that the artist's story and the story of each photograph is just as important as the actual art.
I think so.
So how do I get that into my website?
I would use the product pages. So you have a collection page, right? Here's your collection of 20 photos, and each one can be clicked on. And you're going to a page for each product in your shopping cart, for example.
Okay.
Then you might tell a quick story about, I was out on Lake Okeechobee that day, and I saw these incredible storks, or, I saw these birds, and I was following them, down the side of the lake, whatever. And then put a paragraph, explain the situation. What is it? What was the mood? Why did you take that? Or what is an interesting story about it? People love stories. That's why we watch movies, and that's why we love books, and we're just hooked on stories are the kind of the thing that knits society together, right?
Yeah.
And I love to know about you and your story, and that's how we know each other. And we're friends because we know each other's stories and our common experiences. And I think that shopping is an experience, buying is an experience. And when we connect with, oh my gosh, I've been there, I recognize that pier, I love those birds, or this reminds me of my last vacation to Florida, or New York City, or wherever it is, then there's a reason that they want to own that piece. And they will tell their friends that story when they show them the piece. Like, oh, the artist was over there on a really stormy day, and look at the clouds coming up or whatever. And they'll tell that story because it is intrinsically connected to the piece of art.
I love that. So
but isn't it true?
Yes, it's getting truer the more I'm getting more into the art world and selling my art, and then of course interviewing all the artists that I. In fact, we recorded a show yesterday with Gareth Rockcliffe, good name for a landscape photographer, Rockcliffe.
Yes.
Anyway, he told a story, and it made me so fascinated, so I said, you better send me that picture so I can put it in the show notes. But his story was that he got down at sunrise and he forgot his tripod, and he's known for long exposures. You cannot do a long exposure without a tripod. So he was about to give up, and he went down to the hill or whatever it was, and there was like a stump there, and he crammed his camera in there, and he got the most amazing shot. You can't believe it. It's going to be on my show notes, whatever. I don't know when he's going to be on, but anyway, but that story, I'm telling it to you.
Right, exactly. Right,
I mean,
those
I'm
are the
gonna remember
things.
that story forever.
And when you see that image, you'll say, "This is the one." And
he
think
almost
about
didn't
that.
take it because he forgot his tripod. And,
well, that's a fabulous
And then how many
story.
we all can, as photographers, are like, shoot, I forgot my tripod and just went home before.
Exactly.
And he's
I think that's great. That's
All right, and
great.
now we don't have a heck of a lot of time, so we can't, this has got to be another show because you have to come back. Okay, so I've got the website. How do I get people to go to the website?
Well, that's a whole show in itself.
I know, that's why I said.
But you
give
know,
us some short, like we have like 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, what can we do?
I would suggest a couple of things. I mean, clearly social media is so important at driving traffic. So get on Instagram. Instagram, by the way, is the #1 social media platform for artists that helps to sell art and helps to drive traffic to artists. And probably Facebook and maybe Pinterest, because that's very visual, or whatever you want to do. And if you only want to do one, maybe just do Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, because it is hard to keep up with them all.
And then I would try to get backlinks. Backlinks are links from other places that lead to your site. And so you might call me up and say, hey, Carolyn, I'm starting this new website, PeggyFarronsphotography.com, and I'm looking, for some backlinks. And I might say, let me write a blog about that, or let me mention you on my site. You especially want links from higher ranked sites, and so they help your site ranking come up as well. And then you also want to be found in search, and that's search engine optimization, and you have to read about that if you start putting your website
But basically
together.
you have to have a good title on your whatever, and you have to have good words that people actually will be looking for.
Yes, and you want to have meta tags or metadata on your photos. And that should be very complete. I know a woman who has always been really meticulous about it, and she's showing up on page 1, like in her region, in her area, as a photographer. She said, boy, all of this hard work paid off. I show up all the time on page 1. She gets tons of business.
That's awesome. That is awesome. But that is a whole show, and you
It
are
is.
the right person to ask, so you have to come back.
I would be glad to come back.
Is there any paid advertising we can do to get people to come to our site, or is that worth
You
it?
certainly could. I mean, you could put an ad on social media. You'll
Is
want
it
to
worth it? Do you
track
think?
that. I think it can be valuable to get people to come to your site and then collect their email address.
Okay.
Because are they going to buy the first time they see your work? Probably not. You want to send out that monthly email just like what you're doing and bringing them back month after month. I'm willing to bet that people who come to your website, they're looking around, they're learning about the newest camera or what to do with this or that, and they like it and they come back, but they don't register for one of your classes or take one of your courses for 6 months, right?
Right.
Because they need to
longer.
know you.
Because I've had that newsletter, and of course you've heard me talk about this many times, but other people maybe haven't. That newsletter is the most profitable marketing thing I do.
Yeah.
I make money immediately within hours after I send it out every single month.
Ooh,
every single month.
I love that.
And then
Yeah.
a lot of times, if I don't send, like in December, the last 2 Decembers, I've sent a very short one out late because December's a really busy month for me. And you can just see it. There's nothing happening. I mean, and then people will say, oh, well, when is the next class for this coming up? Are you going to bring Carolyn Edlund back to teach the class? And it's
right.
like, well, you've been a student of mine for 6 years. You've been to my website. You know the schedule's on the website. But they wait for the newsletter
They are
to
counting
look at
on that reminder, and you got them trained. Good for you. Good for you.
That is the most important thing to me, is that
I
newsletter.
agree with you. It couldn't
And
be more
it is a lot
important.
of work. It is a lot
But
of work.
it's worth it.
But
I mean, I
it's
think you
worth
need to
it.
find what works for you and go there. And if Pinterest doesn't ever bring you anything, then forget it, Focus your energy on what works.
Because you have to be careful with your time, because, well, you and I both have the same.
Sure.
We work too
You're
much.
super busy, I know that.
But it's hard. It's hard to decide what to do. Any final tips on selling your art
Oh my gosh.
through your website?
Well, it takes a while to get started. The one tip I would give anybody who thinks that they're going to sell online is there is no substitute for face-to-face sales. I would get out there in front of people as often as you can, whether you're at an opening or an exhibition or an art walk or an open studio or a festival. Meet people first. Let them see your work in person. Let them hold it. and then drive them to your website through your email. And I think you'll actually make more sales. That blended approach. Don't just go online and say that's the only place I'm going to sell. I mean, you and I are sitting here together today, and we couldn't do this unless we were together. But there's so much value in spending that time together.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know.
Well, people need to
know,
like, and trust you in order to buy from you, no matter what you're selling.
I agree.
Even if they love your art, if they don't like you, they're not going to buy it. It's
True.
going to give them a bad memory. Like, oh, I remember her.
Well, let's send out all those positive vibes this time. And
yeah,
that's good.
And what is your website?
My website is artsyshark.com.
Because you have a very exciting, is it a convention coming up?
I have a conference coming up in Washington, D.C., and that's going to be on March 23rd and 24th in the Washington metro area. It's actually being held at Artists and Makers Studio in Rockville, Maryland.
Okay.
So it is being presented by the Clark Hewlings Fund for Visual Artists. And you don't need to remember the name. If you go to artsyshark.com, in my sidebar, you're going to see an ad for that conference coming up.
And what will they learn at that conference?
Oh my gosh, this is a phenomenal organization. Everything from your career blueprint, your branding message, your portfolio, selling online, pricing, building your network. It's an incredible
And it's a weekend,
experience.
A whole weekend is
yes,
what it is?
It's 2 days. And then we have a big party at the end.
Oh, wow.
Which is always
An
good
artist
too.
party. That's
Yes.
really fun.
A cocktail party, which is always fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, audience, if you have a chance to see Carolyn Edlund in person, you have to take it. That's how I met you. I took your 2-day class.
You did. Thank you.
And, oh my gosh, you changed my life.
You
really did. You changed my life.
Well, I love coming down here to see you and working with you because you've always got something fabulous going on, as everyone knows who tunes in to see you. They're like, what's next on your incredible schedule?
And you also have online classes for artists.
I do.
And all
marketing,
kinds of
pricing,
good stuff.
wholesaling, and email marketing.
Crazy
Got those 4
amount
courses.
of good stuff.
Yeah.
And she is really good person to learn from.
Thank you.
ArtsyShark.com. I almost said your name is Carolyn Edlund.
They could
do that. Does that work too? CarolynEdlund.com?
But nobody can spell my last name, so artsyshark.com.
ArtsyShark.com. That's a cooler name anyway.
It is.
Remember, if you could, please leave us a review on iTunes. It's so helpful for us, and we really appreciate it. I'm Peggy Farron. Thank you so much for watching the Understand Photography Show.